ထဲမှာပါတဲ့အာတာပီပေါ့လေဘူရိပြအထုံမှုလုံလဝရိယရှိသူရှိရမယ်ဆိုတော့ရှိမှအနုပဿနာဖြစ်နိုင်တယ်ဆိုတော့ဒီတော့ပေါ်တဲ့အာယုံကိုရှင်းစမပြထက်ခါထက်ခါအနုပဿနာပိပိသသဖြစ်လို့သူဟာဘူရိပြအားဆိုင်ရမှာပဲအဲဒီအားဆိုင်မှုကသိအရေးကြီးပါတယ်ကိုယ်တည်းကရှုခွင့်ကြည်ကြီးရတယ်ပြီးတော့လေအတိတ်တွေပေါ်လာတဲ့ရှုွက်ကလေးတွေထင်ရှားတာကတော့ကာယကပိုထင်ရှားတာပါပဲ
In the Satipatthana Sutta, it says, Atapi, one needs to have intense effort, courageous effort. Only then will anupassana occur. So one must have effort in order to observe the arising object again and again. In the large field of observation, there are newly arising objects arising all the time. And of the fields of observation, kaya, matter, the group of matter, is the most obvious. Intense effort is needed to get the mind to stick to this kaya when it arises, to stay with the object of kaya. One can't be even a little bit slow or slack. Our effort has to be active. That is the kind of virya that is needed. And if one has this, then the laziness that causes us to dwell in misery will not arise. It's said that kusito, dukkhaṃ bhikkhave kusito viharati, the one who is lazy, who lives in a casual way, dwells in misery. And this means that to dwell in misery means whatever posture we're in, whether we're sitting, standing, walking, lying down, whether we're bending our legs or arms, stretching, leaning, and so on, whatever we happen to be doing, one who lacks effort dwells in misery. So what is misery? The Buddha said, woke no papakehi akusalehi tamehi. That means that one is all mixed up with kilesas that bring us down. The transgressive kilesas, which degrade us, the kilesas that obsess in our mind, and the seeds of the kilesas. So there are these three grades of kilesas, and Sayadaw will speak more about them later. So this type of living, dwelling with these kilesas, it's the opposite of dwelling with cleanliness. And ordinary people spend most of their time like this, dwelling and involved with the kilesas, every second, every minute, every day, day after day, and their lives end in this same way, being tangled up with the kilesas. So mostly people don't search for a way to make their mind clean, to make their physical, verbal, and mental behavior clean, to be someone like this, with a clean mind. So they are really to be pitied, but they don't feel sorry for themselves. If they did, they would surely seek for a method. One who knows that this condition is pitiable will surely seek for a way to fix one's life. One can't rely on celestial beings to save us, or on a supreme being. It's not realistic. The supreme being who takes responsibility for everything we do, is this realistic? It's not. So, what is realistic is to search for a method to tame oneself, to make oneself cultivated. And the Buddha himself sought a method to overcome the gross kilesas, the medium kilesas, the refined ones, the gross ones that lead to get manifested in body and speech, the medium grade ones that boil in the mind, and the seeds of the kilesas that lie dormant, the refined kilesas. The Buddha taught the trainings of sila, of samadhi, of panya, to overcome these 3 grades of kilesas. And he said, try it. Apply it with respect and see for yourself. At the start, in making this ardent effort, atapavirya, we need aramba dhatu, the launching effort. And this is what Sayadaw spoke about yesterday to some extent. But when we practice, we don't see results at the start. At the start, it's not possible to see results. So, Sayadaw would like to speak about 2 methods of practice. One is the method of samatha, and the other is the method of vipassana. So with samatha, one focuses on a samatha object and develops concentration. With vipassana, one focuses on the ever-arising object, the one object after another. So with samatha, if one becomes free of the obstacles to concentration, the nivaranas, then one gets joy. One gains tranquility, piti and passaddhi, and one gains some sort of happiness, to some extent, sukha. So one gets these. So it's said that the person who practices samatha is close to happiness. It's easy to get happiness with samatha practice. With vipassana practice, however, the yogi is close to suffering, because when the mind becomes clean, then pains arise. Pains, aches, many things that are uncomfortable. So it's said in the text that it's easy for suffering to arise when one does vipassana. And if pains arise, yogis who don't have strong effort, who are not courageous, but who are cowardly, tend to shift. So if every time discomfort arises, one shifts a little bit, one straightens one's back, one straightens one's neck, and so on, it means that one has little patience. And people like this will not be able to sit for an hour easily. So without doing this, it's not possible to gain concentration. If one can't be patient with pain and discomfort, then it's not easy to get concentration. So no one has died of the practice. In fact, people get benefit from doing the practice. So if we shift each time pain arises or discomfort arises, then we won't gain samadhi. So what is needed at this stage is the increased effort called nekama dhatu, the second level of effort, where we have to step up our effort and be persistent in order to overcome the desire to back off, to overcome the lack of courage. So to get the better of these tendencies, to withdraw from pain, difficulty, to lack in courage, one has to increase one's effort a notch. And this nekama dhatu, the persistent effort that steps our effort up a level, is what we need to overcome difficulties. Those without this persistent effort of nekama dhatu, if they practice 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, it won't matter. They won't be able to gain the Dhamma. So at this time, what one needs when one is encountering difficulties, one just has to give up. One has to give up one's consideration for one's life and limb, and one has to make effort. This is very important. In the body of the yogis practicing, one encounters extreme hardness sometimes. This is an unpleasant, tangible object. One encounters extreme heat, extreme cold. This is an unpleasant object of the temperature element, tangible object. And extreme stiffness, tension, and so on. These also are tangible objects. So if these things like hardness or heat, cold, stiffness, tension, the elements, if they are extreme, then there's discomfort. There's feelings such as numbness or tingling, aching, and pains. So this is the true nature of nama and rupa, mind and matter. These feelings, Vedana, are the cause for tanha. Due to feeling, craving occurs. Dissatisfaction can happen, of course, but when there's something unpleasant that we're experiencing, we want something good instead. It's said in Pali, dukhi sukhang patiyati. So when there's uncomfortable feelings and we don't note them, then we can think like this: oh, if I only had this sort of thing, if I only had X, this would be good. Or if I didn't have this unpleasant feeling, it would be good. This is craving. This is tanha. And when there's a comfortable feeling and everything's going fine, then we want more. This too is craving. Sukhi bhyo ichati. When we have something pleasant or some happiness, we want more. So this too is craving, tanha. And sometimes it feels calm. The feeling is not good or bad, not painful or pleasant, but neutral. This is called upekkha vedana. This occurs at the higher stages in the practice. And one with this feeling too, one can want more of it. So these three kinds of feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral, are the cause for tanha, or craving, to arise. In whom are they the cause for tanha to arise? In the one who does not observe with determination, with courageous effort, every arising feeling that arises. So when one doesn't observe the arising feeling, then kilesas swarm around one. And at the beginning of them is laziness. So this is the one who lives lazily, is kusita. So without making effort, the kilesas, lobha, dosa, moha, they swarm around us. And then we dwell in misery. So when there's discomfort, if we don't observe the discomfort with effort, then there's the desire to get rid of it. Or there can be dissatisfaction, anger because of the discomfort. That's dosa. Or there can be not knowing. So this is moha. And kilesas arise because of lack of observation. This uncomfortable, tangible object is the truth of suffering. If one wants to know the truth of suffering and eliminate its cause, one has to observe. One has to observe the arising feeling when it happens with courage. And if one does that a lot, then virya, courageous effort, develops. And where there's effort, sati follows. And samadhi follows on sati. So when one observes what arises in one's body with determination, again and again, then sati will stick. It will stay with the object of observation. And when sati sticks to the object, samadhi follows. The mind becomes collected on the object. So one moment after another, the samadhi group, virya, sati, and samadhi, are present, and they grow one moment after another. So if one makes one noting every second, then in 1 minute there will be 60 times that this samadhi kanda, virya, sati, and samadhi, is arising. Even if we only have one noting every other second, it's still 30 times in 1 minute. That's 30 times when the clean mind is arising. This clean mind is the bhavana mind. So to develop this mind is what we try to do, and this bhavana mind needs to become strong. Sieroji raises the question, why is it that we need to observe every arising object in our body? In our body, there's whatever it is, good or bad, whatever arises in our body is the truth of suffering, dukkha sacca. This is what the Buddha said. And when dukkha sacca, the truth of suffering, arises, we have to observe it with effort, with mindfulness, with a collected mind. If we don't do this, then knowledge won't arise. And what will happen is dukkhe ajnanam. There will be ignorance regarding suffering. There will be ignorance due to suffering. So, if we begin to make effort to observe the object, and the mind becomes collected, when these three factors, virya, sati, and samadhi, develop energy and become full force, then one will know stiffness, tension, and so on. One will know the truth of suffering when it arises. So not knowing, not noting, not knowing, kilesas come in. Noting and knowing, kilesas come clean. So when we observe the arising object, time and again, we can make the mind clean. If we note every arising object as much as we can, then because of our effort, laziness can't come in. And following on effort is sati, which has the characteristic of blocking out kilesas. It protects the mind, guards the mind from kilesas, and makes it secure. This is described as rekha varana goti. So when sati is present, there's no sense desire arising, no kama chanda nivarana, and there's no dissatisfaction, anger, no bhyabhara nivarana, the obstacle of anger, the obstacle to concentration. And because effort is there, sati sticks with the object. It stays with the object, and the mind becomes collected. So there's no restlessness, udicca. There will be no regret and remorse, kokocha, and no laziness. So how good this is. If the mind sticks with the object, the mind falling collectedly on the object, the mind staying with the object, then one becomes definite. One becomes definite about what is being observed. One knows that there is stiffness or tension. One knows pain as it is. So one becomes definite about the object through one's observation. And at that moment, the mind is clean. In each noting, the mind is clean when the mind is definite about the object. So in 10 seconds, that's 10 occurrences of the clean mind. And in 5 minutes, there will be 300 occurrences of the clean mind. So in every 5 minutes, another 300 moments of the clean mind. So what is happening at this point is this clean mind, the clean mind that was initiated, that was created, is becoming bigger and better. It's being increased so that it occurs again and again. So how will we feel at that time? How will our minds be if this clean mind is getting developed moment after moment? There won't be any wanting to see good things, hear good things, smell good things, taste, touch, think good things. And thus it's said that aradha viryo bekave sukhang viharati. The one who develops effort in the practice dwells happily. Whether sitting, walking, standing, or lying down, one dwells in happiness. Why is this? Because it said, paviveto papakehi akusalehi dhamehi. Because one is free of the degrading kilesas that drag us down, that are the opposite of wholesomeness. Because of being free of these kilesas, one dwells happily. And this corresponds to what yogis are experiencing when they make effort in the practice. So when they observe painful feelings, not trying to get rid of them, but in order to know them. And when one observes the discomfort that arises with this determination just to know the phenomena, then what develops is knowledge, dukkhe jnana. Knowledge arises due to suffering. So if one is low on patience, then if every single time one sits, one shifts because there's a uncomfortable feeling, then even if one practices for a month, there won't be any change. It's very important to have determination to observe the phenomena, just to know them. And Sayadaw wants to warn the yogis about this. Arada virya means to observe whatever arises in our body without missing. This is developed effort. Every second of the time, one by one, every time the object arises, one observes it. So this involves courage. And courage means that when there's discomfort, we don't observe it in order to get rid of it, but in order to know it, in order to develop vipassana knowledge. We shouldn't have the aim, when pain arises, of trying to get rid of it. If we observe Vedana, pain, discomfort, uncomfortable feelings with determination, then we'll come to know the true nature or the essence of Vedana, uncomfortable feeling, and its function and how it manifests. So we'll come to know that Vedana is experiencing an unpleasant contact. That's the essence of Vedana, dukkha Vedana, And this experiencing this unpleasant contact makes the mind tired. This is the function of dukkha Vedana. How it manifests is that it tortures, it oppresses. And when one observes Vedana with determination, one comes to know this about uncomfortable feeling, that it has that its essence is to experience unpleasant contact. Its function is to make the mind tired, worn out, and it manifests as being oppressive and torturing. So, when one comes to know this about Vedana, when one comes to know dukkha Vedana in this way, then one has overcome the Vedana, and one won't shift whenever there's a uncomfortable feeling. That's why it said, arada viryo bhikkhave sukhang viharati. That means that the person who has made this type of effort, who has developed effort, dwells in happiness. They gain happiness. And the happiness that is gained is many times better than the happiness of sense pleasures that are so sought after by beings in the kama, in the world of the senses. So when one gains this type of happiness, the happiness that is better than sense pleasures by many times, the yogi is no longer bored, no longer lazy, because one has gained the upper hand on feelings, Vedanas. one no longer backs off. And then one's practice advances quickly. So Vedana leads to craving, tanha if it's not observed, and it also can lead to anger. And so that these kilesas don't arise again, one needs to have courageous effort. One needs to develop one's effort so that it is arada virya, or so that it is atapa, ardent, intense effort. Because this ardent effort is hot, it dries up the kilesas gradually and then puts them out. So moment by moment, when we're observing with this ardent effort, the kilesas are being dried up. And this is the benefit that we get in the moment of the practice. Good virya of this kind is called atapa virya. And one who develops this type of good effort, who comes to possess it, is called atapi, one who possesses ardent effort. And a person who possesses this effort has overcome laziness. This is by means of the effort called nikama dhatu, the persistent effort which can overcome boredom, laziness, so that it doesn't come back. And such a person can see, a person who possesses this type of virya comes to know how virya functions. It functions to support the mind. When a house is falling down, we need to support it so that it stays upright. And virya supports the mind in a similar way. It keeps the mind from falling down. And so this supporting function of virya becomes obvious when one has developed good effort. And one who possesses this type of effort, nikama dhatu, the persistent effort, before long one's notings will become continuous. And because of continuous noting, one will gain special Dhamma. So this is, when one has this nekama dhatu, persistent effort, or atapi, then one's practice develops quickly. So tomorrow, Sayadaw will speak about how this happens in terms of both theory and practice. That's all for today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.